Dum-dum. All right, we're going to, today we're going to be looking at our questions here in a few minutes. Let's see, got my pencil. All right, we've been going through lesson 3 in our study. Our text verse was Ecclesiastes 1:17. We'll read Ecclesiastes 1:17.
And I gave my heart to know wisdom, to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is vexatious spirit.
All right. Of course, we've been talking a lot about folly. We've been talking about understanding folly and what folly is. And when we look through Bible verses and we talk about the simple, the fool, and how it is accompanied with the word folly. And folliness has a meaning of like silliness and immoral and a perverse, wicked way. You know, we think about the folly in this world. There's lots of folly in this world, isn't there? Think about the world, and some of the world even runs to folly, right? It seeks it out. We talked about a lot of verses, and we read a lot of verses in Proverbs about folly. So look at a couple. Let's look at Proverbs 5:23. Proverbs 5:23.
Proverbs 5:23. He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray.
When you think about folly, what does folly do here? Think about when you get involved in folly, you're led astray. You're led away from what's right. Look at our world today. When we think about something folly, someone's wrapped up in folly, they're open about it. They don't. We read in Proverbs 13:16 that they're open about it. They don't even try to hide it. They're just kind of open about it. What are some of the things about folly that we read in Proverbs stood out to you? There's a couple verses that stood out to me. You think about the one that stood out to me is the one about the dog, right? And that's repulsive, man. It goes back to it. He goes back to his vomit. He eats it up. You think about a dog. That's kind of. But think about in this world. Think about a fool and his folly. What does he do? He returns to it over and over again. Even though it's foolish, even though it's destructive, even though there's consequences with it, he just goes back to it over and over again. What were some? Is there a verse that stood out to anybody else? Yeah, there are. No? Yes? No? Yes, no? Going once? All right. What was the one about the bears? Everybody remember the one about the bear? A bear and folly? How it's compared? Okay, let's go back to it. How about Proverbs 17:12? What does the Bible say about folly in this respect? What do we got here?
But a bear robbed of her wealth need a man rather than a fool in his folly.
Let's think about that one. What does that mean?
What's the wealth?
Well, that's a cub. That's a little cub. Anybody here, I mean, if you don't know a lot about bears, and if you know anything about, parents mostly will be really protective of their kid, but think about a bear. What is a bear going to do around a cub? What do they say? That's the worst time to run into a bear is when they're with their cubs, right? And what does it say? What does God's word say about that? Well, it says you're better to be with a mother bear than a fool with a fool in his folly. Pretty good warning, you know. We think about the warnings in God's word. We think about the things that we have. That's a good one. Let me see here. All right, so that was pretty much. We just wanted to kind of get a taste of folly and how we think about this world and think about we talked about the distractions of folly. We talked about distractions. We talked about selfish desires. We talked about fear being folly. How we get wrapped up in bitterness. We closed up last week with bitterness. Bitterness is folly. Well, we talked about the conclusion last week. We concluded with it. We talked about in the midst of a generation of fools and their folly, we ought to desire to be wise. Proverbs, they talked about the four people that you'll find in, the four kinds of people that you'll find in the book of Proverbs. And the four, we ought to desire to be wise. We ought to desire to be like the wise. And how do we become wise? Well, we become wise by what? Not being foolish, but being in God's Word, right? We become wise by knowing His paths, knowing the paths of righteousness, knowing the paths. If you're going to run to a path, which path are we going to run to? We're going to run to the broad, wide open expressway that seems like the world follows? Are we going to run to that path, the one that has more resistance, has more troubles with, as far as maybe some ridicule from people, from men? We want to run to the path that is led unto us by God. And then you think of our culture today, and it teaches us the culture to the young people to find themselves, right? To go out and search for the world. That's the last place you want to go and search the world and find yourself, right? If you're going to find yourself, you want to run to God and find your individualism in Him and what He would, how He'd have you to live and to be in His how to be in His what's the word I'm looking for? His leadership. I mean, we use the word leadership. Which brings us to our questions. Brings us to our study questions. Oh, I might have gave away the first answer, but hey, we're going to keep going. Aunt Rose, I don't know, do you have a book?
No.
Oh, we got to get Aunt Rose a book. Jordan, do you by chance have any extra books, or?
I can make some more. I don't have any.
I think.
I mean, Josh's book is sitting here.
Oh,
If he
yeah,
wants
we'll get
to
it over to, you got that, well, you do that. You can go ahead, yeah, you can follow along with Josh's book, and we'll try to get another one. Would that be possible, Jordan?
Yeah, I can. I think we have files.
If you can. And if not, don't know if Josh did, but he can share with Barb or whatever, we can go that way, maybe. But. All right, so how is it best to describe, oh, sorry. Well, let Aunt Rose read it. You find we had somebody tell what page we're on for the study
3?
questions? Yep, number 1. Lesson
Oh,
3,
1?
study questions, number 1.
How does
please.
God describe and define folly in His Word?
All right, kind of discussed that. What do we got? Anybody can take a stab at it?
Anything that keeps you,
Well, anything, it can be something folly, something that what?
anything that keeps you from Him.
Yeah, distraction.
Anything.
It leads you astray. And when we think about our world, we think about moral perverseness, wicked ways, silliness, the things that they do. They use the discretion, or they use the thought about, sometimes people say, oh, don't be silly. What are they saying? Don't be foolish. Don't be dumb, right? Don't. They think
That's
about that.
usually what they say is don't be dumb.
Yeah, don't be dumb. That's right. That's right. Okay, so then leads us to question number 2. Oh, Melissa got her hand up. She wants to read it.
List the 4 major areas of folly that young adults today are facing.
All right. So we had a list of 4 that we covered. What were they?
Distractions, selfishness, fear, and bitterness.
All right. Yeah, we had them, and they can. Everyone can have a different version, or everyone can have a different different area of folly or foolishness. But these are some of the ways, or some of the areas that are prevalent, or some of the areas that we face today. There's other ones, but these are the top 4. All right, let's go to question number 3. Question number 3. Chris, you want to read it?
Sure. List the things that Satan will try to use in your life to draw you off God's course. All
right. Well, I guess if I pick on someone, then you don't have to list yours. If someone answers, I say, oh, this is Mrs. Hobbs. So we all leave here knowing this is Mrs. Hobbs' foolishness and folly. So we're not going to answer that one. Let's go ahead and just answer some of the ones that we can come up with. So go ahead. Anybody want to respond? We won't say it's yours. I mean, you can maybe throw it in there. We won't suspect it, but we can go ahead and go ahead. Who wants to throw some thoughts out there? question number 3 is,
Well, of course, the word desire for fun, hobbies, anything.
yep. Yeah, there's a whole list of them. Okay, we got, anybody? Money. Yep, and Pastor Gray was up there with that. He had the real money, the fake money. Some people go out there and they'll print fake money, or they might get in trouble and maybe make money the wrong way. Who knows? I don't know, but the devil can come after you in these areas. Money, and of course, we think about, what do we think about in the world today? What does the world look to for popularity? Who's popular? What do they look to?
Hollywood.
Hollywood. Think of Hollywood. Think of how there's a few movies I watch, and then I see what some of the actors stand for. I'm not even gonna watch them anymore. I don't want to promote them in a sense. Their foolishness they promote, or the folly they're in. We think about some others. You might not think of it. You might not think of it as folly, but I mean, think about how anybody here ever get angry. And maybe that can be part of bitterness, I guess you might say. But if you think about just something simple like anger, it's folly. You know. Think about education nowadays. It's not wrong to be educated, but you think about the education system that we currently have today, and what they teach and what they want to teach, and what they there's definitely some folly in there, isn't there? People's career can be folly. They can be chasing the career, whatever the career is, missing church, skipping whatever, missing out on serving the Lord and hearing the Lord's word, and it can become certainly folly. And then we also got to be careful. What do we got to be careful for? Each one of us have a need for friendship, right? Each of us, your friends can be folly. Friends can be folly. They can lead you astray. You need to be careful. We had that verse. What was the verse again? Something about good manners. I think that's part of it. What is it? Evil companion.
Yeah.
Something to affect the evil companionship or something. Anybody want to look it up?
Corrupts good manners.
Yes, that's the one. What was it again, Shell?
Something like bad company corrupts good manners.
Corrupts good manners. That's the gist of it. That's not maybe it, but that's the gist of it. That is so true. We need to be careful. And each one of us has a different area that could be a weakness, or it could be where Satan could try to draw us away or draw us off course. We need to know that, we need to be aware of that, and not be fooled. All right, question number.
1 Corinthians 15:33.
Oh yeah, I'll write it down.
Be not deceived, evil communication is corrupt good manner. I think one of the biggest things, I think young people today, maybe older people,
Young and old.
have in their lives that can draw them away from God is their phones.
Oh yeah, we can say phones in today's world too. And we think about what is
Everything
it that,
is a touch of a button, and you get it.
and we think about things that can be distracting. We think about how distracting can our phones today be. They can divert us. They can take up a lot of our time. Good point.
And they start with babies with them phones anymore.
Now, yeah,
That is
nowadays.
weird.
I had never got a phone till I was, what was it? I had like 3, 4 kids. I think, what was it? I had 3, 4 kids. I was, I survived, but it was nice. Phones can be convenient for sure, but they
But
can
it's
be
such a, it is a
distraction.
distraction to us, you know what I mean, like what the first thing you want to do when you get home from a day's work, and myself included, you know what I mean, sit and search through the phone, search through the phone. We never had that distraction. We had TV, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
which also could be a very big distraction. But, I think it's just so easy to fall into.
If you wanted to know what the weather was going to be like, you had to wait till 5 or 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
right? Or then you had to tune into about 10:15 or whatever, and after the news came on, But now you come home, and you're scrolling through for 2 weeks from now, and quite frankly, if you look 2 weeks out in the forecast, is that really what the weather's going to be like? Yeah. So I mean, think about it, and it can certainly be a folly. It can get us distracted and divert us off course, and time that we could be better well spent doing other things. All right. Any other thoughts? Any other comments or observations? Okay, oh, who wants to answer this question? Let me see here. Oh, it's Seth, he gets to read it and answer it. No, I'm just kidding. What does it say there, Seth?
List the things that you are most afraid of as you consider your future.
All right. Then there's some things that one could just kind of jot down, I suppose, if you wanted to think about it. What are some things we could jot down there if we, if you wanted to think about things that you might be afraid of as you
What did you
consider the
say,
future?
Oh,
He didn't answer.
I thought you said something.
So we can make a general list. I mean, there's something that might hit that might be yours that you're maybe afraid of. I mean, think about your health. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you think about health.
Raising kids in a world where everything that they see is trying to turn them in a different direction.
Yeah, you think about, that's a good point. You think about raising a family and,
That's not a big problem.
pardon me?
I said that's
What
not a
is
big
that
problem.
telling us there, what's that telling us, Dan? I mean, what are you trying to say here? No, it's a good point. Think about, but, it's, one of those things that, you know, you gotta consider for sure.
The unknown.
The unknown, fear of the unknown. Isn't that like a American proverb, you know, or something like that? Don't they say something like that? There's a lot of things in life that are unknown. You know, we can plan things. We can, Pastor always said, plan your work your plan, right? But sometimes that doesn't always work out. You can plan your work and you can try to work it, but sometimes you get a curveball thrown at you. Sometimes things don't go the way you planned it, right? What are some other areas? Yes.
Just in general, fear is so prevalent right now. Like, I find myself really having to fight against getting caught in fear.
Right.
Like with the state of our world, it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole
Yeah.
and get consumed with it. And God does not want us to be that way.
I've lost so many sleep thinking about a nuclear war. I mean, it's just imminent with everything going on in Russia right now. If anybody's following anything about what's going on, we're as close as we've ever been to the big one and stuff going on. It's terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, you think about government. Think about the place of government anymore nowadays. We can just jot down things that might be afraid of, but the government, the things they're trying to do, the things they're trying to implement, the way they're trying to kind of control your life and to, you know.
I think the government's always been like that, but they've covered it up.
And that's true. And they're just blatantly read out in the open.
Right.
You know, I mean, there was always things going on. You can think about the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, you know, pulling on the rods and levers. You know what I mean? There were always things going on, but now they just pull the curtain back, and you can kind of see what the shenanigans they're up to. You know, such a double standard. You know, it appears to be a double standard to me anyway. But
Yeah, it's so true. Fear is, in you know, the Bible verse says, you know, for God hath not given us a spirit of fear. So therefore, where is it coming from? You know, it is coming from Satan. You know, kind of the list of things that Satan will try to use in your life to draw you off of course. It really does come from Satan. And for us to wrap our minds around that is, wait, this is from Satan. You know what I mean? And it's so much easier said than done.
well, you think about fear, and you think about Satan, or you think about Satan's attack with fear. What is fear? What is fear? What is fear?
Are you afraid of something?
Huh?
Are you asking for a definition?
Yeah, just what can fear? What can fear be like? Huh?
Being afraid of something?
It
Being-
paralyzes you.
It paralyzes. It could be loss of control. You know, you think about Satan. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I think of. I think about fear. You think about fear of this world. You think about where Satan comes at us, is he wants us to think that God has lost control. And that one verse, and that's what I was kind of thinking, is like, you know, we think about it and we think about the verse, and I'm struggling with it in the sense that, you know, it can overtake you. But you think about, you know, the verse where the kings move as the rivers, you know, and God controls them. And Satan wants us to think that God has lost control. And when we submit to that, we're submitting to the fact that, yeah, God's lost control. He's not in control. And when we have the thought that God is in control, that we're safe. After all, look at all the verses we read. What were some of the verses? He's what? He's our high tower, right? He's what? He's a refuge. He's a rock. You know, you think about those things, and if if you're a ship and you're in high seas, I mean, think about the Florida hurricane, or that's what I was worried about. There's not many places to be safe from that, I guess, but if a ship was gonna seek, like a harbor, and if they're in a harbor in a safe place, they're protected. And, I think, you know, with the fear, if you look at it and you forget that God is in control, and that God is on top of this, He does care about you, He cares about you in your life, you'll have peace. If you, but if Satan can disravel that, if he can take it apart, you'll be in fear.
And I think we need to choose to not dwell there. to never-
Right.
Like, you know, there's, if we can say it, you know, with our mouth, I think our minds and our hearts will follow. You know, I will not fear what man can do to me.
Yeah. And that's where God's word, scriptures come in to back it up. That's where, you know, Jerry, you
Yeah,
got
I
it
was
up?
just thinking of the last 3 years, it's a daily, over and over and over, be afraid, you know, COVID's gonna be.
Yeah, we've had everything from sickness to this to that, to countries taking over other countries. I mean, it's just been just bombarded. And then you throw the phone in that Barb's talking about,
Yeah.
and then that's all you see. And it's nonstop, 24/7, someone's opinion. I mean, and I gotta admit, I'm on the phone. You know, I'm following the news all the time and this and that. So, I mean, it is there, but it's 24/7 of what? Someone's opinion. And really, it's an opinion that some mean things and some is just, what do you want to say? It's just filling time because they got to have a 24-hour slot that they're having a news section now with all the cable and all the internet and everything else they got. So we need to be careful for sure.
And it doesn't mean that bad stuff isn't gonna come.
Right.
But
No.
the Lord will, like, think of Stephen, you know.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I mean, we've talked about all these people. Joseph, I mean, Joseph was a prime example. He served the Lord, feared the Lord, he was given dreams, and he was mocked by his family, and they sold him in slavery, just threw on, and so on and so forth. But, you know, but God has a purpose for him. And that's the whole, you know, you have to look to God for the purpose and what he wants to teach you in it. So it's a matter of, it doesn't mean that, you know, we aren't gonna have bad things happen. Awesome, great point. But that God is ultimately in control, and God has a purpose for it, for you, to make you stronger, to make you a help to someone else. You know, how do you handle that? What does somebody else, okay, you go through a struggle, what does somebody else see, and how does that bring honor and glory to God? Does it bring honor and glory to God? Or do you become a black eye, you know? And that doesn't mean bad stuff ain't gonna happen, that's gonna be painful or hurtful or hard to go through. I mean, it just doesn't mean that. But we still have to look to the Lord. All right. Anything else? What are some other thoughts? Anything else in general we can add to it?
Well, just raising your kids and
Yeah.
having them, kind of along with what Dan says, not only just raising them, but you can raise them for so long.
And have them continue.
And it's, you know, we can't choose their path,
No.
and that can be very scary.
And I think somebody mentioned that, but it is a choice. I mean, you can come to that. We talked about the fork in the road, you know. We talked about the, you know, okay, here's the 5-6 lane expressway, and then here's a path that not a lot of people are taking. It's, you can tell it's there, but I mean, you know, do you take the easy path, or do you take the path of righteousness, or the path that leads to following the Lord, a path of more resistance, you might call it, you know. Think about salmon. We used to take the kids all the time to the salmon ladder, that ladder. It's pretty cool to watch those fish, how they, like, you know, they want to go, and it's not easy. I mean, they're up, they're down, and if you could tag them and put a mark on them, they got almost there, and then, well, shoots the ladder. Ever play that game? That's like the game that went on forever. That was one of the kids pulled up, you know, because I was the guy that would get almost to the top, and I hit that slide all the way down the bottom to the third space again. You know what I mean? I wasn't the guy that got the ladder at the bottom. I had to work my way all the way down the bottom. But anyway, You know, salmon, they swim, and it's not easy to do it. They need to go and spawn and beat their eggs, but they swim and they make it up with, and they fall back, and then they find a pocket to rest. And where's that rest that when we get that climbing that ladder, and it's hard, we find our rest in God. We gotta find our rest in that pocket and under God's wing, God's arm. And in His Word, and comfort in His Word, and encouragement in His Word. That's where we ought to find it. And we hopefully will not be as afraid. We'll have more of a peace. All right. Question number 5. Daryl, you have your book with you? Can you read question 5?
Yeah, list the selfish desires that might become folly in their life.
Now, if I ask somebody to answer that one, they might think it's their personal one. So let's just list general one. Let's just list more of the general ones. Who's got one they want to throw out, spit out? Who must be the first one?
I'll say hobbies.
Hobbies. Yeah, hobbies. I like my tractor and my working on the property. Because I don't want that to overtake my life. But so I didn't write down hobbies. I didn't write that
Well,
one.
the reason I think of that is because my brothers just loved golf. And they actually went on a vacation in Myrtle Beach to golf and didn't bring their wives. I mean, my brothers work together. Can you imagine going somewhere without your spouse? Just to golf? I mean, they went there for 3 days.
Yeah, you need to be careful. No, it's not all bad. But on the same token, but if that's what that's your folly, or if that's your way, that's your way. All right, now
I
there's
drove all the way to Texas to show rabbits.
Uh-oh.
It was a blast. But I brought my kids with me.
But if it's a selfish desire, that's the key, I think, it's selfish desire. People don't know what your desires are, but ultimately God knows your desire. He knows your heart. And that's when it comes in. You can fool people. You can fool people around you, but
And it's the obsession, I mean, it becomes folly. It might not be, it's kind of like that obsessive, selfish desire that becomes folly. That's the key of it. A hobby doesn't need to become folly.
no.
It
No.
can become
It
folly.
can be.
Or anything in life.
I mean, that's where our list could be pages, you know what I mean? Really, I mean, so list some selfish desires that might become. So let's list some more. Let's get like 5. Let's see if we can get like 5 or 6 down here. Then we'll kind of move on. Maybe we'll have a list of 20 by the time we get done. Maybe everybody get it. So okay, so we got hobbies. What else? Of course, your career. I mean, you can throw out a career.
Which in turn is money.
Which in turn is money. So you got a career hand in hand with money. All right. So what else?
I think most people will want to, in their later years, live a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah. You could be relaxation. It could be comforts of retirement. Sure. And if you want to do that, well, you're probably working hard, not taking any time with family or people or whatever. You're trying to get to places you ought not to. Who knows? I mean, it could be anything. So, all right. So we got like 4. Right? What else we got? Pardon me?
Me first.
Me first. Yeah. Not being very helpful, but just focused on self. Yeah, that could definitely be. That would be right in the lines of selfish desire for sure. Yeah, me first. All right. Okay. How about another one?
Say, like, you're skipping church, not going to church for something you want to do instead.
Yeah. I'd throw that in selfish desires. You could be putting aside, serving the Lord.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Pardon me.
Kind of go along like pleasure.
Pleasure. Yeah. All right.
People's houses really can.
Homes. Yeah. Homes can be.
Pride of life kind of wraps that.
What's that?
Pride of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pride of life.
Yeah.
Your status in life.
Right.
Your how people see you. How do people see you? I'm gonna write that down. Status. That goes kind of with Janet, what she was saying, the relaxing, and, you know, you required retirement, you know, you're just gonna try.
And that's not a bad thing, it just, like I said, I mean, if you do it and then God just starts not being your focus, you know, there's a lot of retired people who are leading
Exactly.
a life of, you know, some comfort because they've worked their whole life hard, but God is still their focus in life, you know,
Yeah.
it just is, God's not.
And again, this is a list of selfish
Right.
desires. It's not, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with any of these things. It just
Right.
means that if it becomes your selfish desire, that's when it becomes bad. Yes,
Careers, you're
careers.
so focused on that and neglect your family,
Yep,
you
yep.
neglect your church.
Neglect, you know, it can take you away from church, family, friends. I mean, it can be a real, it can.
Serving,
Pardon me?
take away from serving.
Certainly take away from serving the Lord, for sure. Leads to all of them, so, all right. That's a pretty good list. We could probably, oh, Pat, he wants to add one. Let's go
You
for
could
it.
say freedom. Sometimes we think that just having the right to do it,
Yeah,
the right choice. It's not always the case.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I just broke my leg. I can't do that. All right, that's a good list. See, I told you, we could probably get a page going, but if anybody else has one, I'm not gonna take it away from them, but if not, we'll move to the next
You
question.
got idols.
Oh, that's a good one, idols. And that could be your hobby, it could be, you know, it could be all these. Idols could kind of pretty much, cover them all, could cover every single one of them, idol. All right, so question number 6. I don't know where we at. Brenda, do you want to read it or should we have Barb read it?
I'll read it.
You'll read it? Well, let's go ahead. Let's hear what question number 6 is.
List a few ways that you have been hurt in the past and who hurt you.
All right, well, we'll kind of leave that as a personal thing. We can think about it. And we can maybe, anybody wants to answer it, they're welcome to, you know, but I mean, it's kind of more of a personal one. But there are lots of different ways that you could be hurt, you know. And there's, and, you know, like I say, they can stick with you, but that's where we don't want to be bitter. We talked about being bitterness, being folly, because if someone's hurt you, most likely you're going to have a little animosity towards them. Most likely you're going to have a little bit of distaste for them, and you're going to probably wish bad upon them, and that's bitter. We don't want to do that because we talk about bitterness being folly. Bitterness can be folly. All right, let's take a look at number 7. Barb, you want to read number 7 for us, please?
Describe what you will do with the hurt listed above.
What should we do with that hurt list above?
Well, again, I talked about this once before, I think, I mentioned it, forgiveness, and how important it is you have to forgive.
Have to forgive.
How much do we deserve
Right.
to be punished? I mean, how many times has Christ forgiven us for what we've done? I mean, you gotta look that way.
That is the answer.
Besides forgiving, you've got to forget.
Forgive and forget. Yeah, we think about the sea of, we talked about the verse, God has the sea of, something. Sea of forgiveness, and what does that mean? It means that it's not to be brought up again. And that's easier said than done, you know, in the flesh, for sure. But you need to turn over, that is very true. You need to forgive and forget. Does that mean, even if they don't think they've wronged you, does that mean you don't forgive them? Maybe they think they haven't done anything wrong. Maybe they think they're right. So what do you gotta do with that? Keep seeking keep seeking them to see the wrong? Is that it? You keep bringing it up until they admit the fact that they're wrong? No.
I mean,
Forgive anyway, unconditional.
The scribes asked Christ how many times you should forgive your neighbor, and it was 70 times. What was it, do you remember the verse?
Yep, 70 times 7. Yep. All right, so, but definitely we need to forgive and forget. All right, and then question 8. I can come back up front since Daniel read question number 8 for us. Oh, you know, okay, Daniel, you got your book? Can you read question 8 for us, please?
Spend a moment in prayer about the 4 areas of folly that we've discussed, or that we've studied. Ask the Lord to expose areas in your life where you may get ensnared in folly, and ask for his guidance and protection.
All right, so, we've definitely, what's the first area, or what's the first way we become, able to deal with the problem? What's the first thing we have to do? Understand, but we have to recognize or admit we maybe have an area of weakness, you know what I mean? A lot of times, is it easy to admit you have weakness? Does anybody here, who wants to raise their hand and say, I got a weakness? No, it's not, but we all have a weakness. We all have an area, but we have to admit, we have to own that weakness and know what it is. And whatever it might be, it could be, I don't know, it could be anything. I won't mention anything, but whatever that area of weakness that we have to admit to it, and we have to try to overcome it on our own, right? That's the best way to do it, right?
Take it to the Lord.
Take it to the Lord. Good job, Jerry. Take it to the Lord. And even taking it to the Lord, going to the scriptures, looking for, we might need someone that we can have confidence in, talk to, and have them be an accountability partner, have them be a help to us, have them be an encouragement to us, or to just be able to talk, you know. Hey, I'm having trouble here, you know. And it's easier when you have help, and you have reassurance, or you have encouragement from others. It makes things a lot easier to tackle. All right. Let me see here. And certainly go to the Lord in prayer. All right. Man, I love it when we go through the study questions, and it takes a little while to go through them in the sense that people are throwing in input. That's great. Thank you. We appreciate the input from everybody. And like I say, I was thinking we get started with the next lesson, lesson 4. A man can't just sit around. Think about that. Let's think about that. A life of eternal significance. Reward number 1, a life of eternal significance. So we'll stop right there, and next week that's where we're going to pick up. We'll start a new lesson. And, well, we should probably take a second. One thing I forgot to do, which was time to quit, but it's in the book. Let's look at our memory verse. We should all memorize this one, no excuse. I admit I didn't do it either, but this was an easy one. This is one we all could memorize. But Ecclesiastes 2:13, and it simply was, then I saw that wisdom excelleth folly, as far as light excelleth darkness. That was a short and sweet and easy one. That's almost as easy as he left. You know, which race is that one? But anyway, all right, great. All right, we'd like to ask Danny, would you please dismiss?
Father,